Following program is for training purposes in TV news education. Some copyrighted material is used and is credited on screen. However, no more was taken than was necessary to tell the story of the event. YBA claims fair use of materials.
All right, well, if only we could have this in real life, we'd see if your picks would be true.
Right. Don't you want my picks? What am I here for? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'll pick the best players. I go with the best players. I'll pick North Carolina, Jordan, and Michigan State with Magic. I can't bet against Magic. And that North Carolina team didn't even have Sam Perkins on it? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's how good that team was. I'll take that team to get to the final. What was that? Final four.
So North Carolina.
Yeah.
All right.
For what it's worth.
Mm-hmm. All right, so moving on to the next bracket, we have starting off the Duke Blue Devils with Christian Laettner, known for his legendary shot, against the Kentucky Wildcats, facing the Terps of Maryland, who have Steve Francis and Juan Dixon. And then the next matchup is the Michigan Wolverines, who have part of the Fab Five: Jalen Rose, Juwan Howard, and Chris Webber.
No Ramil Robinson in there.
Yeah.
Wow, Trey Burke bumped him off, the local guy from Cambridge. Anyway, go ahead.
Facing the Ohio State.
It's a free throw and you're done.
Yeah.
Facing Ohio State and legendary Celtic player John Havlicek. So, who do you think will win here?
I think Duke and Michigan win the. Or was Michigan on there?
Yeah, okay, you're right. Yep.
Yeah. I think Duke and Michigan win. Duke. I don't know about Duke though. I still don't think the talent on Duke is that good, but I still think they're better than Maryland, to be honest. I mean, Jay Williams didn't really last in the NBA that long, So Duke, what I think about Duke, I think it's average talent, but such a great coach, they find ways to get at the top. It's really more the coach than the talent, For Duke, they don't have recruiting classes like Kentucky or Kansas next year,
Wait, Jay Williams was on that team?
Yeah, Jay Williams was on that team. And then Michigan definitely, I think, is by far in that whole bracket, the best players on Michigan.
So Mike and Jason, what do you think here?
I'm going Ohio State just because Havlicek's on the team.
Yeah.
I like that. And then it was Duke, and who were they facing against? I'd probably have to go Duke.
The Terps.
I believe.
Oh, yeah, you got to go with Duke. Better point guard.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll go with Duke.
You agree with that?
I definitely agree with Duke. Just one of the most storied franchises in college basketball history. And I think I'm going to have to go with Michigan, just part of the Fab Five, a very balanced team. So I'm going to go with Michigan and Duke.
They never went to class, though. How can you pick Michigan?
So between Duke and Michigan, because you have to pick one team, who goes?
Right.
Who goes?
Oh, of those four? Go ahead, Jason.
I would probably say Duke for that one.
I think I'm going Duke, too, for whatever it's worth.
All right. So that means
Really?
we have a UNC
Really?
Duke in the
Duke?
Final Four.
Yeah, Duke in the Final Four. They've made more Final Fours than any other team in history, right? Okay.
All right,
Yeah, I don't know about Duke, but Duke, the thing is right now, they just don't. They're in tournament, they don't seem to be doing that well. In the past, they've done well,
Well, all these players are in the past.
But I think
And this is an all-time. This is this year's.
I think when they're playing against those players, if they play against those players against Michigan, I don't see them beating Michigan at that time for those players.
I think Leitner's the only player that made 4 Final Fours, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the next bracket, we have the. Sorry, just pulling it up, but we have the Georgetown Hoyas with Patrick Ewing, Dikembe Mutombo, and Alonzo Mourning, big centers, facing the LSU Tigers and Glenn Davis, big baby Glenn Davis, and the Shaquille O'Neal, one of the best college players. And then in the South we have the Kansas Jayhawks with Paul Pierce, the truth, right here, and Will Chamberlain, one of the greatest bigs, if not the greatest big in the NBA of all time, facing Wake Forest and Tim Duncan and Chris Paul. So, here, Mike, what do you think?
I'm going with Kansas with Wilt. How can you not? Wilt and the truth, right? I don't even know who else you had on there, but I get a Kansas.
Lob City number 2.
Who?
Lob City 2.0.
Oh, right. And then I've never liked Georgetown, but how can you not pick them with Ewing and Mutombo and Mourning? And you could put me and Jason at guards and they'd get there, I think.
And you have Allen Iverson.
Iverson,
just
right.
checking up shots, and then Mutombo will just get the rebound and put it back in. So.
Yeah, I think I actually disagree. I think LSU with Shaq, with a big man in the middle. I like LSU, like a slight edge. I just Shaquille O'Neal, when you got that big of a guy, and that good of a player who can dunk it like crazy. That's what I like. And then Kansas, Wake Forest, to be honest, those are both great teams, and if Wake Forest was in another bracket, then I'd probably pick them. But Kansas, there's absolutely no way that I can go against Wilt Chamberlain, who scored 100 points in one game, for real, 100 points. No one's ever done it before besides Wilt Chamberlain.
So Sam, who's the team that wins?
I'm going to go with Georgetown, and then I'm going to go, I mean, you can't pick over a team that has Paul Pierce and Wilt Chamberlain, so I'm going to pick Kansas.
So Kansas makes it to the Final Four.
Yep.
All right, Kansas.
Wow.
So moving on to the last part of the bracket, we have UCLA Bruins, the most championships in history of college basketball, with Russell Westbrook and Reggie Miller. Who can forget the Mr. Nick Killer, 9 points in 8 seconds in MSG, facing Arizona and Mike Bibby and Andre Iguodala, a current NBA star. And we have in the next matchup, University of Houston, the 5 Slamma Jammas, Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler, facing Kentucky with John Wall and Antoine Walker and Anthony Davis, are now in the Hornets. So here in the last.
What, Goose Givens? 41 points in the championship game? Come on. Where is Goose? Pat Riley's on that team? Come on. They're eliminated just because of that.
All right, so
Go ahead.
top one, UCLA, Arizona. Who do you have?
I got obvious. I think UCLA. I mean,
There's no discussion. Move on. Right?
Yeah, I know.
UCLA. Move on.
Exactly. Move on, and then on the second one, who was that team that faced Houston?
Kentucky.
Jason,
Kentucky, yeah. I think Kentucky wins. You know, I mean, John Calipari recruits such good players. The problem is they got an injury right now, so that therefore the talent isn't that good when they.
They might bring 8 on.
But they need Anthony Davis, Antoine Walker. Can't go against them. And then UCLA, no discussion. They got so many good players on that team. Can't go against them.
So Jason, is it UCLA or Kentucky? Who makes it to the Final Four?
I got to go with UCLA. I guess another one of the greatest franchise colleges in NCAA basketball.
Not one of, the greatest of all time. Okay, if I may correct you. As an old timer.
All right, so in the Final Four of the greatest basketball teams of all time, we have UNC and Duke, obviously one of the biggest rivalries in college basketball, and we have Kansas and UCLA. So, Mike, UNC and Duke, who wins?
UNC and Duke, I got to go with the best player available, Jordan. I just don't think he'll allow his team to lose.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's UNC that wins, and I think it's Kansas that wins, because Kansas and UNC have arguably top 2 players in NBA history. Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain are probably the best NBA history. Duke's got some good players, but I just don't. The talent on Duke is not where UNC talent is with like Michael Jordan. They don't.
Come on, we got to disagree with
Duke.
Dylan
Duke doesn't produce.
UCLA? Come on, the greatest players ever. I know Wilt only played a year at Kansas. He's done.
Yeah, I know. Paul Pierce. What about Paul Pierce? You know.
Paul Pierce is good. Greatest players in college basketball
What about
history.
Mario Chalmers? 25-point game in the NBA Finals. He adds depth to that team. You know.
Yeah?
He might not be the best player, but he adds depth. You know, when he needed a game-winning shot, Mario Chalmers could make it. So.
He had one shot in the 08 finals. I mean, you can't really define that his career at Kansas. But no, I'm going to go with North Carolina. When you got Michael Jordan, he's not going to let your team lose. And then I'm going to I'm going to take UCLA. I mean, it's hard to pick against UCLA and that team.
Really? Even with Paul Pierce, Wilt Chamberlain?
How much can they do? I mean, Wilt had that 100-point game.
And that was a pro. He wasn't even,
Right. I mean, that was, into his career. I mean,
UCLA had arguably the 2 greatest college players in history, Alcindor and Walton.
All right. So
arguably. But that's my opinion.
So the finals is UNC versus UCLA. And Jason and Mike, who do we have?
Go ahead, Jason.
UCLA, the best team, means that they should win the championship.
I concur with Jason. Jason knows his stuff.
UCLA it is. So UCLA, our top college basketball team of all time. Jason?
Yeah, so YBA's New York correspondent Carter Woodell took a trip to the Big East tournament to Madison Square Garden and got some very interesting footage.
Prepared to sit down in the press box all the way up in the uppermost regions of the upper deck at Madison Square Garden, it was surprising to me just how empty it was. I was able to see a few placards on each of his seats welcoming what's-his-name from so-and-so to the opening round of the Big East Tournament 2013, but even once the game that I was there to see, Seton Hall in South Florida, had finally begun, the seats remained empty, save for a few chattering newspaper writers. It's a little surprising considering that this is the first game of the last Big East tournament as we know it. The conference is going to split apart next season thanks to the storm of conference realignment that's been swirling through basketball recently. You'd think that people would want to savor every moment, but Madison Square Garden was only about half full when I watched that game. Of course, the Big East tournament to many college basketball fans brings to mind images of great players, upsets, fierce rivalries, things that show just how beautiful and glorious college basketball can truly be, or in other words, the exact opposite of what I wound up watching. Seton Hall and South Florida were the 12th and 13th seeds in the 14-team Big East tournament, and they played like it. The score at halftime was 20-17. There was no glory or honor definitely in the first part of that game. Very little offensive efficiency from both sides, and I, sitting in the press box, thought, wow, it seems like this isn't exactly what I think of when you think of the Big East tournament. The crowd is removed. The players aren't all that good. It's a thoroughly unmemorable game. But then, at precisely 8:54 p.m., after Seton Hall had fallen behind by 8 points and mounted a bit of a comeback, Fuquan Edwin ran coast to coast and got in a layup to cut South Florida's lead to 37-35 with a little under 30 seconds remaining on the game clock. And all of a sudden, Madison Square Garden woke up. Fans from both sides rose from their seats. The building began to glow with this fervor that I had never seen before, and I realized this is what they're talking about. This is what the Big East tournament is known for. This atmosphere, this energy that was in the entirety of this giant cavernous bowl that is Madison Square Garden. It's a shame, of course, that it was only around for a couple of minutes, and then it faded back away. The Pirates of Seton Hall will be moving, along with 6 other Catholic schools, to a new conference to be called the Big East. A conference whose end-of-the-year tournament will be held at Madison Square Garden. And it will surely be a great tournament to watch in an excellent arena with great teams and great players. But when we watch it, we'll know it isn't the same. It's not the old Big East, the incredible granddaddy of all the conference tournaments that we are so used to seeing here in March. I hope Seton Hall and South Florida enjoyed it while they could, because the Big East tournament is gone. For YBA Sports, I'm Carter Woodhill.